to. So she waits like an hour or so, and then she heads towards the river, and guess who's waiting for her there? Our stranger is just sitting there, just waiting for her. He knew she was gonna try and leave, and now she was like, I was just taking a walk. I wasn't gonna leave you. So he picked her up, carried her back to the cabin, and then he yelled at her, that if she leaves, she's gonna die because she doesn't know how to survive out there. And then he gets so mad, he gives her the shotgun, and he says, since you want to take care of yourself, you survive overnight outside. So he gave her a backpack and the shotgun and locked the door. So the backpack had like a tarp and some other things, and she wound up going to the shed because she had to think like she's got to figure out how to survive out here. So she, of course, had to try and make shelter. She did. She cut up some wood. The shed, of course, was a shelter. She cut up some wood, made a fire. When he came out later, she was pissed and was like, if you want to throw me off your land, just go ahead and do it. Don't like drag this shit out. And he was like, I don't want you to go. I want you here with me. He's like, you're my everything. Fuck, that's deep. So she says the same thing back to him. And the truth was, her ass really meant that. Like, just in this short time, girl was gone. So she goes inside, and of course he has to try and warm her up. And then he fucks her, and he tells her, while they're fucking, that if he fell in love with a woman, it would be someone like her. So she said, what are you waiting for? And he said, I'm waiting for you to fall in love with me first. And so she tells him, I do love you. So he goes outside and he brings in like a tub and he washes her. And he tells her, I do love you. And she, of course, wants to know why he loves her. And because she doesn't want it to be just because she's the only woman that's around. And he tells her, listen, I can go get any woman. And that he loves her because, she's smart and kind and like all these great things. So she tried to get him to open up some more about his past. That didn't work. So they go outside, and the stranger says he thinks, I think he saw some type of animal, okay? And then they also see like some people. And old Laney takes off running. Pain in her ankle be damn. Girl was trying to get it. And then the ice, it's thin. She doesn't know this. And so it cracks. She falls in. Everything goes black. He pulls her out. And the people she were running to, like, they were right there because they saw it all happen. And so they come up and he tells the people, that it's his wife and she wasn't from there and she doesn't know, when the ice is too thin. So, and the people bought it apparently. So in her mind, she wanted to say something, but nothing would come out. So they get back to the cabin and he was like, why did you do that? And she was like, I just wanted to talk to someone. I get bored here. He's like, she's like, I'm used to having people around me. And he then realizes he can't keep her hostage. And he tells her if she wants to go, she can. And he doesn't want to keep her here if she doesn't want to be there. He just didn't want to lose her. But when he says this, she freaks out. And then she's going, you're throwing me away. I don't want to leave you. I want to stay here forever. And he was like, okay, if you mean this, you can't leave. And she's like, I won't. And then, of course, this starts like an intense fuck session and a little weird one as well. So he cuts his hand, turns her around, and writes his actual name on her back in blood. We don't know what the name is because they still don't freaking tell us. He then tells her to lick his finger, which has some blood on it, and she does it with no hesitation. He starts eating her pussy, and then he nicks her inner thigh. And he licks some of the blood. This is crazy. He licks some of the blood, licks some of her blood, and then like sucks her clit again, and then tells her to come on command, and she does. This is dark, okay? So he takes her to town. She brings her cell phone. She turns on her phone to look at the pictures. When she gets back to the table, because they were at a diner after they had picked up like some packages and some other stuff that they needed, and she told him what she did. I brought my cell phone and I turned it on. And he was like, well, how long did you have it on? And she said like 2 minutes. And he said, well, that's long enough for them to get a ping off of your cell phone. He's like, do you want someone to come and get you? And she was like, no one's going to come looking for me. I'm sure they all think I'm dead. So just as she says that, Michael walks through the door. So Michael, of course, is like, everyone thought you were dead. I honestly was coming to see if your body could be found. And they thought you were dead since like there was like no sign of you except for like your purse and your luggage. They figured you had gone into the woods and died from the conditions. So then she was like, she was rescued. So Trent, this is the name that he now says, okay? So he says, oh, Michael, I'm Trent. So, nice to meet you. You want to have some lunch with us? So he's being like super nice, which is throwing her all off. And Michael apparently had told her stepfather, Dean, and mother. Dean took it hard. We find out through Lainey that Dean had sent her an email that said he had met someone. So Michael steps away and Trent is like, do you want to leave with him? So now I'm going to call him Trent. Since he said his name was Trent, that's what I'm not going to call him Stranger. I'm going to call him Trent right now. So Trent says, do you want to leave with him? And she's like, no, I want to stay with you. And he told her, he asked her, he isn't just your friend, is he? Because she had told him he was a childhood friend that she was on her way to visit. Goes, I haven't had sex with him, virtual or in real life. And Trent says, I don't care if you got on your knees for him 70 times. I don't like being lied to, and you're mine. And she loved hearing him say this shit. So the decision was made that they're going to spend the night in the cabin and then they're going to leave first thing in the morning. So when they get back to the cabin, Michael and Trent go outside and Michael spills all the juice on Lainey's stuff, okay? So after he had asked him also, like, did you sleep with her? And Trent was like, we sleep together every night. There's only one bed. He knew what that man was asking. That was funny. So he tells him that Lainey she gets attached. And she's probably already really attached to you. So he tells him that, she has a daughter. So who we thought, the 8-year-old Victoria, we thought was her half sister, that's her fucking kid. The child is living with her grandma Jean, which she did that because she wanted the child to have like somewhat of a normal life. So we also find out Dean is in prison for sleeping with Lainey because Dean is the father of the kid. So apparently when Lainey was 16, she like crept in the bedroom one night. She seduced him. He didn't put up much of a fight. And they began an affair that resulted in her getting pregnant, having a kid at 17. So Trent was just like, that's her story. That's not for you to tell me. That's for her to tell me. And he was like, I just want to know, what's your plans with her? And Michael's like, I'm going to marry her. So that night, this again, all of this Lainey hears, and she's spiraling a little because all of the secrets are seeping out, right? And so that night she gets in bed with Michael, which she hates, and Trent sleeps on the floor. When Michael finally falls asleep, which they can hear, he's snoring, Trent tells her, come here. And so she gets down on the floor and he guides her onto his cock, and they have a nice, hard, but they have to keep it quiet fuck. And he even says to her, you don't want to wake up your friend. And he's just banging her. I'm like, oh my gosh. So she tells him she loves him. And he says, I love you too. He said, with every black space in my heart. I was like, shit. So in her mind, she was like, she'll go with Michael, but she will always belong to Trent no matter what. Even if she has to wait until she's old and gray, she will be back. She will come back. Because back a little bit, when they were at the diner, like, he had told her, like, you should go with him. You should go with Michael. Go have your nice pale babies. And go live your boring suburban life, and just leave me here. And she's like, is that what you want? And he's like, doesn't matter what I want. That's what you need. That's what you should do. So the next morning, Michael's all ready to go. And she didn't want to go. And she had said it to him. And Michael was like, no, you should go. Your life's in Seattle. We're going to go back to Seattle. And she wanted to stay in Alaska, which is, I think that's where Michael lives, is in Alaska, which is, again, who she's coming to visit. But Michael knew if she's trying to stay in Alaska, that means she's going to find her way back to this man. So he thought it's best, no, let's first go back to Seattle. So she goes outside to use the outhouse, and she talks to Trent, and he tells her, if you want to leave, then, if you don't want to leave, then you have to make that choice. He's your boyfriend. She's like, he isn't my boyfriend. So when Michael comes out, he's like, time to go. And Lainey says, I don't want to go. And Michael was like, we talked about this. And he leaned into her, and his demeanor changed. He was a little threatening. He was kind of mean. And she realized he's not this nice guy that he always acted as if he was, because he was just like, do you want everyone to know your secrets and da-da-da-da-da. Now, my thing is, why would you say that to her? What's the point in all of her secrets getting out? Like, what the fuck is it? Like, what is this? So she's seeing another side of Michael. She doesn't like it, and she doesn't want to go with them anyway. So old girl took an axe, and in one blow, took him out. And then she says to Trent, I've gotten stronger. And Trent says, good girl. And she thinks in her head that, the greatest love stories don't end in marriage, they end in death. And that's how the book ends. This is what is considered and called a dark love story, okay? This is the dark one, all right? Which I think is kind of the first I've done. I don't think I've done anything dark like this. So the next book in this series is called Hide. And we'll jump into that one next week. So let me know, what did you guys think of Crash? This was a lot. This was a lot. And I just kind of, you realize that Lainey, like, she's just not what we initially thought she was. There's a lot to her. And I'm quite sure there's going to be even more secrets coming out about her. And then we still got to figure out and find out about the stranger, even though at the end he's being called Trent, but that's still not his name. So we got to find his real name and find out what his story is, because I'm sure it's something crazy. But that was Crash. It was a good read. It's just weird. It's a little different. But I really think it's still a good read. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments section. Discussion board. Make sure you like and subscribe. And as always, I truly do thank you all for your support, and thank you for tuning in to the Always Reading Book Club.